Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for our workshop. We had really impressive attendance, and I got positive feedback on everything that you've discovered about yourselves. And now it's time to talk with some of our participants about how they are experiencing journeying longer, right? So Joelle, just like many watchers, went through a workshop earlier in the year, and then you decided to take the leap and hop on the adventure for a month with us. So thank you for coming to share your story. Joelle, can you tell us about yourself and your family and your work?
Sure, yeah. I guess mine's been a bit of a different journey. My background's in chemical engineering, and I did that for over a decade and had my daughter and was supposed to go back in March of 2020, which, COVID happened and I lost my job. And I'd been thinking of kind of doing a career pivot at that point. And so it took the time then to take a coding boot camp, and I just recently started a new career as a front-end developer. So yeah, I have one daughter and she's now 3. She's a very COVID baby, but it's been a very different journey. I know, I think not only becoming a mother was a real challenge for me, but then to lose my job on top of it was kind of this really flux period in my life where I just nothing was the same as what it was, and I didn't really know who I was and where I was going and what I was doing. So I think when I took the workshop with MoMBA, it was really helped me get clarity on where I wanted to go.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for sharing those challenges with us. It sounds like it forced you to develop resilience, resourcefulness, and turn challenges into opportunities, right?
Yes, definitely.
Tell us a bit about the mindset that you enter. You did the workshops, you attended these Zoom calls, you filled out some worksheets. What kind of mindset did you have when you started the workshop? What happened towards the end after the 4 days? And then what guided you to decide to have a chat with me and ultimately to take the leap?
Yeah, I think when I started, I had, I said, when I had my daughter, I think I was very lost. I didn't know who I was. And then when I lost my job, with the one bit where I kind of knew who I was and what I was doing, that was also gone. And so I think in my journey in a career pivot, I ended up meeting some amazing people who really helped me find clarity in where I wanted to go with my career. But it was really this missing piece for me because I didn't understand how to do that as a mom. And I didn't understand how to do that and combine those things together and what that actually looked like. And so when I did the workshop, I really started to see this is how I can do this. I have a vision over here, but how do I have a vision for the whole thing? And it really brought a lot of clarity for me. And then just being in the program has been, I have a vision now. I have an idea of where I want to go. I mean, it's still not perfect, and there are still crazy days and there are crazy times, and there's all that kind of things. And I'm still working on trying to implement it. But I feel like myself in so many of those areas now for the first time in a really long time.
That's lovely to hear. And so we just had somebody, Layla, just jumped in to listen in live. So thank you, Layla. Joelle, you said something that really touched me. I asked you about the program and you said it has exceeded your expectations. Could you tell me more about why you think it's exceeding your expectations and how you're appreciating the support you're getting?
I think when I started, I was like, oh, okay, this can help me bring a little clarity and help me kind of balance work and life and stuff. But now I kind of I see this as I have a vision for my whole future, and I have a path forward and how to keep going with that and how to build that throughout my entire life, not just motherhood and not just this period in time, but forever. I can keep doing this and I can keep changing this and I can keep working with this. And I think my mind, even before having my daughter, I didn't have that clarity. I didn't have that vision. I didn't have that path forward. And so it's really been, I think, empowering to know oh no, I can do this, and maybe it'll change and maybe it'll adjust, but I have a path forward, and I know also how to change with that and how to change with where things go and how to change with if my values change and how to change if my life changes and how to change with all those things, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And how does it feel? We're often taught, especially as women educated in like logical, rational degrees, we're educated to make decisions based on numbers and facts. But once we get a certain job or achieve a certain goal, we don't always feel so good necessarily, right? It's like for 5 minutes. So how is having this continuous support system for many months, a group to go back to talk to support you, to challenge you, to keep you accountable, how does it actually make you feel on a day-to-day basis to have that thing available to you?
No, it's really good. I the feeling thing has been kind of an interesting thing for me, because I know we've done a lot of exercises on like, how do you want to feel? And that's been really, really empowering for me. And I don't really think about that a lot. I've got my goals and I got this, I can achieve this, but like, how do I actually want to feel at the end of the day has been kind of interesting to think about and play with. And then to come back to, the meetings, and that just always puts me in a better mind space and a better frame of mind. And to, even if I've had a bad week or a challenging week, or things are not going the way I'd like, or things like that, I'm always finding that if I come back here, I'm in just a better space. If I'm engaging with the content and engaging with the people, and they're just, a wealth of also information and ideas, like sometimes I'm starting to think about planning for the next year, and it's like, oh, I didn't think about that, or I didn't think I could do that way, or I think, and just even little things become like, yeah, just the ideas and the support has been amazing for people, especially going through the same situation. I did the moms group after having my daughter, but I didn't connect with that group. They weren't doing, or they didn't have the same kind of goals or the same ideas that I wanted to accomplish. And so it was really, yeah, this has been the first time I feel like I connect with other moms in a way that, like, yes, like, this is my group. These are my people.
These are my people. That's often typical. There's women who find, they went to a new moms group, but maybe there wasn't an emphasis on career or goals, or just that intersection, and you feel like a big piece of you is lost. I would like to demystify a couple of things for our listeners. So when people are making the decision, they often have two concerns: the time piece and the investment piece. So I will say right away, again, I don't pose the price tag publicly, because every person has a unique journey. And as mothers, we often have a scarcity mindset around our finances. No matter how much we earn, many of us are like, can I afford this, right? So I'll address it in broader terms, but often the question is, will I have the time to do this program? And, will I have the money? So let's talk about the time piece and the structure. How are you navigating the different chunks, right? There are chunks of work that require a couple of hours of sitting down and reflection a few times. There are things you can do in 5 minutes on an app, right? There's the group chat where we sometimes problem solve or encourage each other. There's the weekly calls that you don't have to attend all. You're encouraged to attend as many as you can. And then there's the one-on-one time with me, right? So it's very multimodal. Plus you have your printed vision that anchors you on days where you can get like 5 days of reminders of why am I doing everything I'm doing. So can you tell participants who are wondering, like, you have a busy job, your partner has a busy job, you have a busy daughter, how are you navigating the piece of how am I going to make time for this? And does it actually give you back more time at the end of the day?
Definitely. It's sometimes it's challenging. We've had times where my daughter's sick and I just don't have the time, but that's the thing, is that I can always go back to it. The information's always there. Sometimes I'm more engaged with the content and sometimes I'm less engaged, just depending on what's going on. But I find like the weekly meetings, I'm just trying to kind of create a structure for like, okay, what can I fit? And let's just do that. Progress over perfection has been a real big mindset thing for me. Like, what can I do? Even if it's 5 minutes or even if it's 10 minutes, and then trying to block out bigger chunks. My husband's been really supportive as well for me. If I'm like, okay, this morning is my, I'm going out, you deal with Drew and I'll do a bigger chunk of kind of the planning work and that kind of thing. And then for me, just also like, if my daughter happens to at some point decide that she's just going to play by herself, I'll take that time, like whenever I can get those little pieces, then I know that I'm coming back here. And then as I build more clarity and a better vision, and I'm a little more intentional about how I'm spending my time. That's been really big, and building the support systems, if you can afford it, the cleaners, and that all of a sudden I said, not even just taking the time out of, I don't have to do that anymore, but I don't even have to think about that anymore is a really big piece, right? So I think all of those different things, as you build in the support systems and you build in the mindset, I can be a little more intentional with my time, and I can also not think about certain things anymore. They're just not on my plate anymore. And that gives me a little bit more freedom and space.
Yes, absolutely. Would you say you have the feeling then that like it feels like you have more time, or you don't feel so rushed, or you have a different relationship with time now that you are more clear on what matters to you?
Definitely.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely more clarity means that I don't have to worry about certain things, so I can be really focused, and just being more focused feels like the time is, I have more time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of us have this feeling as a mom, I never have enough time. There's never enough time in a day. But one participant often said there's always enough time for what matters. And perhaps you can't figure it out this instant, maybe not this week, this month, but the more you're clear and the better you get at managing your resources, the more you realize that, yes, you do have more control over your time than you think. You're just maybe saying yes to too many things right now and not yes to the right thing. So thank you for sharing that. Let's talk about the financial piece. So when people are considering the program, I walk them through a framework that's logical and that's also emotional. So we have these 12 pillars, we choose top ones, and then we calculate what is the cost of an action, and then what could be your potential return on investment. And ultimately, the people who decide to join the program realize that keeping their problems is more expensive than spending the money to actually address them. And when you put money on the table, you have skin in the game, so you're actually motivated to show up. So can you speak about how you led yourself through the investment? You had this whole career change piece as well, right? That impact, so your finances, plus you likely had to talk to your partner about this. So can you tell us about how you made the decision ultimately that parting with the money was cheaper than keeping your problems?
Yeah, it's definitely an investment. It is something you kind of have to think about it and make sure that it works for you. But for me, I could tell just out of that workshop that the amount of time and energy I'm going to save, like I know over the last, like I said, I was very lost after losing my job, and that what I've realized is that mindset is key. I mean, mindset is everything. And that has made a huge difference in how I approach things and how I approach habits and how I build things into my life and everything. But I just found that, mindset has made such a huge difference in just even little pieces of my life. And so it is an investment, but for me, the gains over, a lifetime with just being able to make these shifts in your mindset is huge. If it makes my relationship better and makes with my husband and makes my relationship better with my daughter and makes me a better employee and makes me less stressed out for the rest of my life and makes me, all of those gains become huge for these, that investment is not really that big when you consider all of those different aspects changing in your life. You just, quite honestly, it's a huge value for just every area of your life. There's very few things that can really have an effect on every single piece of the way in which you move through the world.
Yeah, actually, that's a really good point. One thing I have struggled with explaining the MoMBA program to people in some regards is that it's very holistic. Like when you look at the description of the program, we literally, I think, address every single aspect, from finances to mental health to relationships. What does career life balance, harmony, integration look like for you? What else? Oh, see, there you go. I forget when I'm talking through them. It's literally everything. Can you speak why that holistic approach is good, even though in the beginning it can feel like it's a lot, but why is it important to look at how all the pieces fit together?
Well, for me, that was like a big, huge piece, right? I had this career vision, but I didn't understand how to integrate it all. I didn't understand, and I might learn this thing over here about health, but then like, how do I apply that when I'm working and looking after my daughter and dealing with their restrictions and their, what they like to eat and things like that, and okay, I can have this career, but then how do I integrate learning new things, and how do I do all those things as well, and how do I also keep my relationship with my husband? And that's like, that is the piece that for me was a real struggle, is how do you work with everything? I need a way to work with everything, because that's how I live. I don't live in this little block of health, and I don't live in this little block of career, and I don't live in this little block of parent and this little block of relationship. So being able to look at the whole picture has been really big for me anyways, like that a full vision for your entire life, because I can get the vision for the career and I can get the little pieces, but being able to integrate it all and make it work in a way that I can sustain long term is a big piece.
So when you're talking about the sustainability, some people have attended the 4-day workshop and, they say, okay, I'm going to try it on my own. But what's the difference between actually having this support system for an extended, longer period of time? How is that helping you build those habits that are going to be ingrained in your mind?
Yeah, I think it's so my theme words for this year are sustainability and consistency. So that's like a big piece of what I'm doing, because I have a tendency to go all in and then, burn out and not keep going. So for me, it's been good. I did the workshop and I got a lot of clarity out of it, but I think taking the time to go piece by piece and in depth over a longer period of time, and then getting reminders and having more conversations every week about those things really keeps it in your mind all the time. Where I think if I did the workshop, it's easy to just like brush it aside and forget about it for a while. Like, oh yeah, I have clarity, but then I never actually implemented it, never kept going. So the accountability of it, and then the ability to constantly ask for questions as I'm going through things as well. If I asked for date night suggestions and got a pile of like really interesting, cool things to do. It's like, okay, now I have this list and I can just pull from it, and I don't really even have to think about it anymore. Being able to leverage all the things that people have done as well already, because there's people who've been in the program for a few years, can really, really help as well. But yeah, the accountability of continuing with it just keeps it on your mind. And like, am I, checking in with yourself, like, am I still participating? Am I still doing this? Sometimes I forget and I get into the overwhelmed state, and then it's like I go to the weekly meeting and it's like, all right, let's reset, let's keep going and reset. So
yeah, you said that word I had on my mind, overwhelm. That's the state that many moms used to describe their life. It's you constantly rushing to the next thing, to the next thing, to the next thing, right? Who wants to live that way for a long time? What's the joy of being a parent or having a career if you're constantly busy, exhausted, overwhelmed, your to-do list is never done? So before I jump into some of the FAQs, Joelle, can you tell us about how the program is impacting your, the overwhelm that can exist, and how is it helping bring it under control and help you feel better about life?
Yeah, I feel a lot less overwhelmed all the time. I still get there at times, there are times I forget. It's learning a new way of thinking about things, and we're constantly reminding yourself that that's the way. But being more focused on what I can do and just letting go of the things that I can't, and then building, like I said, the support systems. And, I said, even little things, I was going through the schedule and I think I was listening to it. It's like, oh, you can block all your appointments on one day. And I was like, that's a brilliant idea. I would never think about that, right? Like, it is just, that's a little simple thing, but having a plan and having a vision, and then being able to stay focused on what is important. And recognizing seasons. I think that's another big thing for me, recognizing the season that I'm in. I'm in a busy season and my daughter is young, and there's things that just may not get done this season, but it's not forever, and it's just a season, and recognizing those kind of things as well. Like, maybe I need to be in a season of rest. Maybe I need to be in a season of productivity, but recognizing those things as well, as to balance a little bit of okay, this is just a busy season, and then maybe we'll have a rest season and we'll just put things aside for a while. That's been another big one for me. But yeah, I like I said, I every day just feels a little less overwhelmed. And before I can say I was definitely overwhelmed. I mean, my to-do list is still, always full. I never get it all done, but I don't feel overwhelmed by it anymore. So
yeah, absolutely. We like to say we dance with the overwhelm. Okay, let's jump into some of the FAQs. So I'll go through them, and then Joelle, I'll ask you if you have any comments on those. And obviously, if you have to jump off at any time, please let me know, right? I don't want to take up your whole lunch hour. But essentially, for those of you considering the program, who is it for? So highly educated women and whose identity was defined by their career up until they had kids. So, if this applies to you, feel free to nod. I think right, that's good. Scared of tackling these big life and career challenges alone. I mean, not just scared, but I'll say this, it sucks to be alone with these challenges. When you have a group of people who get you, then you don't have to be alone, right? You operate well in a community of like-minded individuals, whether you're an introvert or an extrovert. I think we have ways to accommodate different styles. Some people may like the group chat more than the calls, right? There's the app, but ultimately you do like community. If you want more for your kids, for your finances, your overall health, life, and well-being, like you don't want to be just stuck on autopilot and be like, is this it? Am I just going to, work and pay the bills until I die with a couple of vacations here and there? Perhaps you're looking to make leaps in developing your personal brand to get that next great position and raise. The way we communicate our value, and when we think about our long-term career arc, that really matters. Perhaps you need to redefine your boundaries with yourself, right? Self-boundaries, and then with others. Maybe you're tackling challenges on the way to leadership and you need to build a new skill set, or you faced burnout or setbacks by the motherhood penalty. Maybe you've been passed over for promotions and raises, right? So those are the pieces. And we say, if you recognize yourself in at least 3 of those, then like the program could be a fit for you, right? Do you have any comments to that one, or is that pretty comprehensive?
I think that's pretty comprehensive.
Actually, Joelle, I would ask because, sometimes people ask, is this only for women on maternity leave? But we have women whose kids are teens, right? And we've had women join while they're pregnant. Would you say that these questions are relevant at many stages of motherhood and for women whose kids are at different ages?
Oh, definitely. I think it just changes, right? It may change a little bit to what the things that you struggle with are, but I think in general, it's, balancing all of these different areas of your life and different goals in all these different areas of your life is always going to be a bit of a juggling act.
Absolutely. Yeah. So this is not just for mothers on maternity leave. It was developed while I was on maternity leave, but it has application for different stages of life. Okay. The next question people ask, well, how do I know this is the right time? Well, people often join because they felt it's a time to reset. Motherhood changes you, and this becomes a time to reset. So again, it doesn't matter if you're pregnant, on parental leave, or a working mom with older kids. What matters is that you're ready for a change and new habits to support the lasting change. Perhaps you've tried doing it alone. Maybe you've worked with a therapist, maybe you've worked with a one-on-one coach, but it wasn't enough to give you like that lasting breakthrough, right? We want to develop new habits, new mindset, beliefs, and supported by habits and then a community. And maybe you're finding that your work environment or your network lacks those resources to help you feel supported and to thrive as a working mom. So, the women who sign up want to be their best selves for their kids, their partners, their families, most importantly themselves, right? And they wanted to move from just surviving to thriving. They wanted to feel connected and supported. They want to advance their careers and their wealth plans. They want to be a positive role model. They want to be first on their to-do list, not last, just kind of as an afterthought after meeting everybody's needs. You want to be in charge of your life and as much as what is in your control. You want to focus your efforts. You don't want to increase your efforts. You want to focus them, and you want to reach your full potential, right? As a human. So this is what helps women take the leap. Is there one in particular or 2 that really resonated with you that was a trigger for you to join the program, Joelle?
I think the overall vision and values was really big for me. And then I can't. Yeah, now I'm trying to think of the list that you just said.
That's okay. It's a, it's not like, reaching full potential, focusing efforts, becoming a positive role model.
Focusing efforts is really big. And actually, oddly enough, like I think becoming a role model has through the program become more important to me. I'm starting to ask questions that I probably didn't ask earlier on in my career about what it is that I'm also presenting for, new women to these industries as well. So it's kind of become a bigger piece, I think, since I've been in the program. But
yeah, and they say to master something, there's no better way to master something than to teach it. Right. So if you can mentor others through the tools you've learned. Okay, I'll talk about the structure of the program. So it's a 12-month hybrid group coaching and one-on-one program. All right. So you get group components, you get one-on-one components, you get access to an interactive learning portal, which is on demand, videos, podcasts, articles, checklists, polls, progress tracking tools. It's organized in general 12 buckets. And we have this social learning feed where, material is posted and then people can interact and share their thoughts or learnings. Then the weekly Zoom calls are either during lunch times or evenings. And it varies from teaching calls, discussion calls, and accountability calls, and then special guest speakers. You'll get some text message support if you want to. There's an app to learn on the go. There's a group chat. And then there's discounted rates on our bonus Nordic spa retreat for those of you who want to attend. So that's the structure. We covered this, but is there anything else that you would add? Why is this program really tailored to fit the busy mom schedule, Joelle? We really wanted to be mindful to give different ways of learning, making sure the calls are live, but also recorded. Not all of them. Some of them will be intimate and confidential, but what makes this program accessible to the busy mom schedule actually?
I think there's just so many different ways to look. When you have time, you can go and dig deeper into certain things if you need to. But then also when I started out, it was just like a really slow drip of like small content. So it was great to like just get started and do piece by piece that way. And then when you have more time, there's all sorts of additional resources. But if you don't, then there's, like they said, there's these small little drips. There's the meetings when you can pop in if you can. And then there's like chats. So if you just can't get to those things, there's always different ways to connect and ask for help and support. So
yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Okay, so the question, how do I lead myself through the investment? We know that women's finances are often stretched thin during their maternity leaves. Women will self-select out if we don't help them through the mindset piece. Joelle said, mindset really determines everything. And if it's your first time doing a program like this, I've done many. I'm always trying new things to become a better mentor for the community. It can be scary. Like that first investment I made was, should I be doing this? It was right out of my maternity leave. My cash flow was tight, right? So that's why we don't put the price tag publicly, because most people would say, I can't afford this. But then you start digging, you look at your cash flow, you look at your savings, and you look at how you would spend that money otherwise. And you realize, okay, maybe this investment will get me something that spending that money on, other things will not get me. So what we can tell you is that many members who initially felt that it was a lot of money said that after a few months in the program, they found no other comparable programs. Like we had one participant, she said she researched everything on the internet and said she found nothing comparable for the same price, for the same level of group support, for the one-on-one support, for the content, for the guest speakers, for the app. So, most people, once they explore their funding options, some get support from their employers, others do the grid and realize the cost of inaction is higher than actually doing the investment. We're here to give you clarity on what the return on investment could look like for you. Joelle, could you speak more in depth? Like when you and I had the conversation, did you feel like I was twisting your arm? How did we explore whether it was a fit? How did we help you make that decision and shift your mindset? I know that I saw in you that you already led yourself through a lot of those reflections, but where is it that our conversation gave you comfort that, okay, I'm in safe hands and I'm not gonna, this is not a silly thing to do?
I think, a lot of hearing the previous participants was a really big one, like just the amount of value that they seem to get out of it as well that's always huge if someone's gone through it and can really see the value and they were like, I don't know about this to start, then, they're in the same kind of boat, right? And then I think, our conversation just clarified kind of all the different pieces that were available and that are out there for it. So seeing the value in all these different areas is there's a lot there. There's a lot there.
Absolutely. Well, thank you. I think that was my last question. I know if there's anybody, Layla, I don't know if you're listening, if you can talk at all, I'll make a small pause to see if you have any questions. Otherwise, we'll wrap up the call.
I don't think I have any question at the moment. Yeah, I'll just here to listen and yeah, to get idea of the program.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm so glad you were able to join us live. Joelle, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. I'm always glad to hear the transformation and value people are getting in the program. It's I'm a mother like everyone. I'm an entrepreneur. This is a female-led business. So when women support this, also would support you become an investor in the female economy as well, in a mother-led economy. So I'm always grateful when people take the time to share their successes, because that drives me on days where it gets tough. It's not easy being an entrepreneur. There's less predictability and there's less security. And so you really have to be connected to that why. And so when I hear stories like yours and can feel the impact on Drew and your marriage and your family, that makes me think of the ripple effect that I have. And that's the question we also ask you in the program: what kind of impact you want to make in the world. And here we want to help you reach your full potential as a mother and as a professional, and in all the other identities, right? Like be your full human. So have a great day, everyone. Thanks, Joelle. And we will hopefully welcome some of you in the program. Bye.